Hi everyone. Good morning from Melbourne, Australia. It's Friday here for me, and this is my usual live time. So I'm a little bit late this morning. I don't know what it's like for you guys where you're living, but with everybody home in with social isolation, it is there's a massive big extra demand on our broadband and our internet. So yeah, things have been a bit slow, and it took me a little while to get everything connected. But anyway, I am here now. So if you are joining me, then I would love you just to post in the comments, just say hi and let me know that you can hear me. And if you've got any questions going along, you can just ask them at any time, and then I'll answer them at the end. And yeah, I'm not quite awake yet, and I don't have coffee anymore, so I've just got to rely on my brain to wake me up. So what I'm going to be doing starting today and over the next 6 weeks or 7 weeks, I am going to be going through my Moving Through the Grief of Chronic Illness ebook. So this is a free resource. So this is absolutely free to everybody, because when I first developed chronic illness as a therapist and as someone with a background in psychology who has also always wanted to try and understand things from an emotional perspective, because that helps me make sense. If I can work it out in my mind and I can work out the impact it's having on me emotionally, then I can start to make sense of it, and then I can start to work with it and move through it. There was really no grief model that covered chronic illness. The grief model generally for sickness, I mean, there are other models of grief out there. There are some that social workers use, and there's other ones. But the main one for illness was the one developed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, which is a fantastic model, but she designed her model for people coming to terms with the grief of discovering that they are terminally ill and coming to terms with the fact of their eventual death. So as with any model, nobody goes through it all in a linear fashion. You can get stuck in certain phases. Some people will never go through all the phases. You can go back and forth through different phases. But because Elizabeth's model was for people coming to terms with chronic illness, that does not fit, terminal illness, see, need coffee, can't have coffee. There wasn't really anything that fit the particular emotional challenges that are ongoing that we have with chronic illness. Because from my experience, there was the initial shock, right, of discovering that you've got this thing that is chronic, which means it's going to be for the rest of your life. You can be told by doctors that how you are at diagnosis is how you are always going to be, and it may continue to get worse, and you may become progressively disabled. Like I was told that how I was at diagnosis, which was physically and cognitively disabled, was how I was going to be, and that was a terrifying prospect for me. There is the big loss and grief of your old self, the life that you had, the person that you were, all the things that you could do, the future that you thought you had. And then there can be a series of ongoing griefs about different things that you lose, or different things that you need to give up, or you want to give up, or you're willing to give up in order to try to regain some health back, which can be, foods, different activities, different forms of exercise, friendships, relationships can all be strained. So there really wasn't anything out there that covered all of these different aspects. And so what I did was put one together. So that's basically what this is all about. It's a model to take you through all of the different emotions that you could possibly experience. And as I said, this is free. I wanted to make it a free resource to absolutely everybody that needs it. And you get this as your gift from me if you sign up for my VIP email list. which you can do by heading over to my emotionalautoimmunity.com website and just pop your name and your email address into, there's various different ways you can sign up. There's a pop-up, there's a form at the bottom of each page, and on the home page, right about in the middle, there's a great big picture of me, and you'll see that there's a sign-up box there. So what happens after you put your details in, you'll get a little message on the screen saying that it's gone through. You'll get a confirmation email. Now, this is where some people miss out, right? Unfortunately, well, it is actually a good thing because it's protecting you. My service that I use for my newsletters and my email has a double opt-in process. So you put your name in first, it sends a confirmation email, and you must respond to the confirmation email. And then once you respond to the confirmation email, you will then receive the email to say that you are now on my list, and that email will contain the link to this Moving Through the Grief of Chronic Illness ebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read you out the first phase of the model, and then I'm going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. So if you have any questions about this particular phase, as I said, please leave them in the comments. So you can comment now, you can comment if you watch the replay, and this will also be on my YouTube channel, which you can also find the Emotional Autoimmunity YouTube channel over there. You can go and find that and subscribe, and then every time I post a new video, you'll get a notification so you can watch it there. So phase 1 is anxiety, confusion, and self-doubt. It takes an average of seeing 6 doctors over a period of 4 years for most people to get a diagnosis of having autoimmune disease. For some, it is even longer. During that time, you are experiencing a wide variety of distressing symptoms like exhaustion, insomnia, anxiety, weight gain, physical pain, and not having the energy or focus to get through your normal day. You know that something is wrong. You know this is not normal for you, yet your concerns are not taken seriously by your doctor. You begin to experience medical gaslighting, the erosion and denial of your own lived experience, and the minimization or trivialization of your symptoms and concerns. This can be an ongoing experience over many years that further wears you down. Rather than test, doctors look at your current life stage, age, or situation and then tell you that you are exhausted because you're a new mother, or you're feeling pain as a natural process of aging, or you are offered anti-anxiety or antidepressant medication, or referred to a psychologist for counselling. As symptoms continue to worsen, your doctor may send you for testing, which you are told is within normal range. This translates into nothing is wrong with you. Some people are also told that the symptoms are in their head or are labelled as hypochondriacs. Some doctors refer to patients in this phase of actively seeking diagnosis as frequent flyers because the amount of visits or different doctors they are seeing. Because there is no validation of your experience that something is wrong with you, you begin the process of self-blame, explaining your experience as something lacking within you, so you can begin to label yourself as lazy, unmotivated, or undisciplined, or believe that you are suffering from depression or mental illness. As your symptoms continue to worsen, you go from doctor to doctor, feeling increasingly anxious, frustrated, confused, angry, and powerless, that your symptoms and experiences are not being taken seriously or believed. And this phase continues until you finally receive a diagnosis. Hi, Mahmood. Thank you for watching. So that is the first phase. And this can be incredibly wearing. And this is where a lot of you are stuck right now. Going from doctor to doctor, you know something is wrong. You're not getting that validation. When you get any tests done, they say it's within normal range, so they're not willing to investigate further. and it can be very, very frustrating. Now, there's kind of two sides to this, and I always like to try and be fair to both sides. So on the doctor's side, doctors here in Australia, and I'm pretty sure it's probably the case in whatever country you're watching from, are under increasing pressure to see more patients during their working day, which means that there is a very short amount of time that they get to actually see somebody and listen to their symptoms and try and give a diagnosis of what is going on. So they're under a lot of pressure. You are one of many, many patients they're seeing that day, and it can be very difficult in that situation to really listen to someone and really take in what they're saying, because they're busy and they're stressed and they're overworked and all of those different sorts of things. But on our side, which is on the patient side, as the person with a chronic illness, what can happen is, the first thing is that you're afraid, right? When you believe and you know in your heart that something is wrong with you and this is not feeling normal and you're not your usual self and you're really struggling and you're not getting listened to, then you are not in the best frame of mind to be advocating for yourself. So it's sort of like there's a lot of pressure on us, right? Because we're already afraid, we're already anxious. In most cases, we look like we normally do, right? So we look like ourselves, and we're aware that something is wrong, and we're going into the doctor's office and we're frightened, and they're not taking us seriously, right? They're just not listening. They're not taking us seriously. They're not willing to do further testing. They can be, in some cases, very dismissive, where you feel like you're leaving the doctor's office in tears, that you're not being believed, that you're being belittled, that you're being gaslighted, that you're getting told things like it's all in your head, or you've got too much time on your hands to think about this stuff, or you've just got to get used to it. Go and see a psychologist, get some counselling, because it's not a medical problem. And when you're getting told that by somebody who's in a position of authority, which is a doctor, with all of this knowledge and experience that you don't have, then it's a very intimidating process, right? And the more you keep getting told that there's nothing wrong with you, the harder it is to keep going into a doctor's office and saying that there is, right? Because you're frightened, your brain is inflamed because of the illness that you've got going on. You can't think clearly, you can't articulate clearly, you're exhausted, you've got no energy, you've got no reserves. And when you're frightened, right, you cannot think clearly. When we're afraid, our brain goes into fight, flight, or freeze. So as I said before, it is really difficult to be your own advocate and to keep going in and insisting that you get further testing. So here's a couple of things that you can do, some practical things that you can do to help you get yourself through this phase and help get yourself to diagnosis. Because we all want a diagnosis, because a diagnosis gives you a starting point of potentially where you can start to look now, what you can do to help yourself. And it also gives you that validation that there is actually something wrong. Because while you can be gaslighted at the doctor's office, you can also experience that disbelief at home, especially when you keep going to the doctor and you're telling your partner or telling your family, like they're asking what's going on, what were the test results, and if there's nothing there, then your family and your partner can begin to doubt you as well. So it can feel like there is nobody on your side, like nobody really believes you, which makes it so much more harder to get that message through and to get taken seriously. So the first thing that you need to do, excuse me, I need a drink, all this talking makes me thirsty. So the first thing that you need to do in order to convince anybody else, right? In order to express an opinion and have it heard, the first person you need to convince is yourself. So you've got to do something to get rid of the self-doubt, because you know yourself, right? You know your body, you know what is normal for you, and you know what is not normal for you. So if you know something is wrong, then that is all you need to know, right? You just need to be convinced. You know something is wrong. You know this is not normal for you, and you want to know what is going on, because something is going on, because this is not normal for you. So that is the first place you need to start. You need to convince yourself first, and just have that quiet certainty that this is not normal and there is something wrong, and I need a doctor to partner with me to help me find out what this thing is. So that is your bedrock, that is the foundation on which you're going to build the rest of it. The second thing that you need to do is, when you are going to talk to your doctor, you have to understand you have a limited amount of time, and you want to be prepared and you want to be factual. So you want to go in as calm and be as reasonable and as articulate as you possibly can, and be quietly determined. Remember, you are the first person that you need to convince, and once you are convinced, you have a lot more ability to influence other people, because that's all we can do. We can't make anybody believe anything. We can only attempt to influence them, and this is exactly what I'm doing now. I am attempting to influence you so that you will see that there is value in this, and that you will use some of these strategies, because I know, and I absolutely 100% believe, that these strategies, if you apply them, will work, and they will help you get the result that you need. So you go in there with your list of symptoms, and you do not include emotional ones. Do not talk about anxiety. Do not talk about depression. The moment you talk about anxiety and depression, the doctor will switch off, and you will be offered an antidepressant or some anti-anxiety medication, or a referral to a psychologist. You need to talk about hard physical symptoms, so keep it to that. So you go in calm, you go in determined, right? Quietly determined, insisting on being heard, right? Assertively, with your list of physical symptoms. So the things like, I have these pains that extend down through my body, I have weakness in my legs, I have whatever it is, right? I have a lack of energy, pain in my body, swelling in certain areas, whatever the physical symptoms are, hair loss, weight gain, have not changed my diet or activity levels, difficulty sleeping, so I'm very restless, so I can't, I find it difficult to sleep and stay awake. Just make them physical symptoms and the impact that they are having on you. So go in with that list. The next thing, insist on getting copies of your tests. Now, here in Australia, when you get your pathology test form that you take along when you're going for your tests, there is a box the doctor can tick to send copies to someone. So the doctor can tick that box, they add in your name, and you will get the copies sent to you. This is really important for the next phase, and this is really important if you have thyroid issues, all right? So make sure that you get that. because you want to be able to have that information, and you want to be able to take that information to another doctor, or you want to be able to look at it yourself, right? And this is the last reason, and this is only for those of you who have thyroid issues. Now, what your doctor will tell you if you get the general thing, which is a TSH test, is that it is within normal range. Now, within normal range is a very wide thing, and you are only being compared to the people who went into the pathology within that day or within a few days that you are getting compared to, right? So you are being compared to sick people, not well people. You are only being compared to other people having that test, right? So it's not, you can see already there's issues with that, right? Because you are not being compared to the healthy population. You're being compared to the people who are being tested in that particular week or over those few days. Now, TSH test, thyroid stimulating hormone, is not a thyroid hormone test. It is a pituitary signal, and they are measuring the strength of the signal that is being sent to your thyroid. So the whole idea of this is, as the thyroid starts to fail, the pituitary is like, hey, make more, what's going on? Make more thyroid hormone, make more thyroid hormone. But the thyroid, because it is under attack or it is failing, is unable to respond. So the strength of the signal from the pituitary, which comes from the hypothalamus gland, which is the master gland that controls all of those functions of the body, right, is getting sent saying make more, make more, make more. So it's like somebody knocking on the door and not being answered, so that you just keep knocking harder. So that's what that's measuring. It's not actually telling you how much available thyroid hormone that you have in your body, in your bloodstream, right? So what you need to do is then ask your doctor to please do a full thyroid panel. Now, again, I can only speak for Australia, but in Australia, there is, under our health system, there is no charge for that. That is free. So it's one blood test. So that blood test includes your TSH test, not a thyroid hormone. Here are your thyroid hormones, your free T3. T3 is the active thyroid hormone that every cell in our body has a receptor for. It is vital to every single cell of our body, right? So free T3, free T4, and then get your thyroid antibodies tested. So it's a good idea to get the Graves, which is a TPO test done as well. So the doctor will know what those are, and you can look those up as well. So when you get those, the doctor can still tell you it's within normal range. Now, this is why you need a copy of the test, because if you look at the copy of your test and you look at your free T3, which is the active thyroid hormone, right, if it is at the bottom of the range, you will be feeling hypothyroid symptoms, because when your T3 is low, you have low energy and all the other impacts that are going to happen because your cells of your body are not receiving that T3. Now, the free T4 is the storage version of the thyroid hormone. That is the one that our own thyroids typically make the most of. So we make a smaller percentage of the free T3, which is like for immediate release. And then the storage hormone, free T4, needs to be, it floats around in the bloodstream till it's needed. And then when it's needed, it gets converted into, by the liver, mostly by the liver. So you need a really good functioning liver, and then in the gut. So you need a good functioning gut. And unfortunately, when you have autoimmune disease, generally it means you've got a leaky gut and your gut is compromised. So I'll give you a real life example of how this works. So because when I was diagnosed, my levels were almost zero. Like I was incredibly low in all thyroid hormones, and I was very high in the thyroid antibodies. They were like off the scale, right? Incredibly high. So it was very easy to diagnose me, right? Because it was very clear, both by how I looked and by the results of my blood test, that my thyroid was failing. So I was given originally thyroxine, which is only T4, so only the storage hormone. Now, because I was starting to go into organ failure, so my organs were only functioning 50%, so my liver was only at 50%, my kidneys were at 50%, and my gut was an absolute mess, right? So I could not convert the T4 into the T3. So I continued to get worse, and I ended up in hospital, which is why I needed to find a doctor who would prescribe thyroid extract for me. The thyroid extract is made from the thyroid of a pig. So they take the actual thyroid gland of a pig, and it's desiccated or dried, then it's powdered, and then it is encapsulated with a filler, and that all comes from America. It is available in Australia. You do need to know how to dose it, right? There is a specific dosage protocol that you've got to go through. So I just want to use that process just to show you how important it is that you have a copy of your test, because now the arrangement my doctor and I have, and this has been going on for the past 4.5 years, is that I get my thyroid tests done, my blood tests done, generally quarterly. I get the results sent to me. I look at my own results, and depending on what my results are, then I either reduce or increase the dosage that I'm taking of my thyroid extract as I need, because what is optimal for me and most people is that you want to see your free T3 near the top of the range, your free T4 near the mid-range, and your TSH needs to be suppressed, which absolutely makes sense, because as the pituitary gland or the hypothalamus is checking in with what's going on in the body, if it sees there is sufficient amounts of thyroid hormone, there is no need to send a signal to the thyroid. So I hope that all makes sense. If you've got any questions about the first phase of the model, please don't hesitate to ask me. So again, phase 1 is, she turns the page because my brain is still not working properly this morning, anxiety, confusion, and self-doubt. So just to go back over that quickly again, you know something is wrong, you're feeling very afraid, you're going to the doctor is telling you you're fine, you're just getting older, or you're exhausted because you're a young mother, or you're experiencing pain as a natural part of aging, or you're anxious, so you need, anti-anxiety medication, or you're depressed, so you need antidepressants, a referral to a counsellor, and you go from doctor to doctor because you know something is very wrong with you, and you start to experience medical gaslighting. And then you start to doubt yourself. You start to doubt if there is something wrong. Am I really, do I really have a mental illness? Am I making this all up? Am I a hypochondriac? And you become increasingly afraid, and the symptoms get worse. And each time you go to the doctor, you're feeling more and more anxious, which means that you can't articulate clearly what you want, and you keep getting told that it's all in your head and there's something wrong with you. So I gave some tips for what you can do about that. And I hope this has been useful for you guys. Next week, I'm going to be going through phase 2, which is relief and shock, and that's what happens after you get your diagnosis. Now, if you want to get your copy of Moving Through the Grief of Chronic Illness, absolutely free, all you have to do is go over to my website, emotionalautoimmunity.com, sign up to be one of my VIP newsletter recipients. You have to look for the confirmation email once you sign up. So look for that in your inbox. If it's not in your inbox after you put your details in and hit that send button, look in your spam. All right? It could be there. You must respond to the confirmation email. I can't change that or get out of it. Unfortunately, that's how the email provider server is set up. It's a double confirmation. Once you do that, you will receive another email from me saying that you're on the list, and you will get a link where you can download this for yourself. It's really going to help you make sense of all of the emotions that you're going through. It is good to share with your partner, get them to read it so they will get a very clear picture of everything that you are going through. So I'm going to get on with my day. I hope you guys are going to have a good day. I hope you're all dealing with the whole coronavirus anxiety. The best thing you can do, honestly, is just to try to keep yourself as calm and as comfortable as you possibly can. This is all beyond our control, except for the things that we can control, which is take sensible precautions, stay inside as much as you possibly can, don't go out unless you absolutely have to, and just do your best to comfort yourself and reassure yourself, because honestly, that is going to make things better for you. That is the only thing that's going to make things better for you. So I'll be back with another live same time next week. So see you then, everyone. Bye.